Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show where it's about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the series premiere of We Hunt Together. A great series premiere. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, let's talk about, Baba and Freddie. This is something I actually talked about, when it came to the trailer, but I think this episode automatically starts it off by being like, you can definitely tell something's off by Freddie, because it's a complicated thing, because it seems like she was hired, in an escort type of situation with Simon, but it doesn't justify, in no shape or form am I saying it was justified, Simon's the victim in this to a certain extent, because it's he was a D-bag, he wasn't innocent in this, but at the same time, the question, and this is something I brought up during the trailer, that I'm curious, it seems like Freddie just seems like she's so manipulative. When you look at certain conversations, it seems like, she kind of leaves out certain details and stuff like that. Even the fact of the matter is Simon got his head bashed over with a brick and then punched in the face repeatedly. And then, what do you do after, I get it, Baba had saved you, but still at the same time, what'd you do afterwards? Oh, I put him in the car, went to Baba, I was like, hey, let's dance. That's just kind of a weird situation. I get, it's just she didn't even have a conversation with hey, thank you for helping me or whatever. And then she's lying to Simon about, it makes sense, because it's well, you're trying to protect Baba because he protected you. So you're telling Simon, oh yeah, the fact of the matter is I told the guy to call the police. I told him, gave him your information. Well, obviously they've been trying to contact you on your phone, but obviously your phone's broken. We also learned that I guess she's a phone sex operator, and I love that whole thing about her just being and I thought that was so interesting. All the ladies were just kind of so disinterested, and I think that's the type of job where it's super easy to fake it and just be doing other stuff, but then she's oh, in the ear, but what about basically I have my headphones in, and she sees her boss getting pissed, she's my ear, ooh, I love it, baby, in my ear. You know what we can do? We can mix the comb and the earwax together and basically make them, I think, turn them into candles or something and make that into a business. And then her boss was kind of okay, do you want me to fire you? She's no. And he's what? She's no, I don't want you to fire me. Can I get back to work? And he's all right, now try a little harder. Because the interesting thing, too, between the whole Baba and Freddie situation, she even asked him, why'd you do what you did? He was you were in trouble. I was there, so I wanted to help. She's yeah, but you could have done anything. You could have just told him to stop. You could have called the police, but you didn't. You grabbed a brick, and the fact that, I think that speaks volumes, that was his immediate reaction. It's but in the heat of the moment, how can you really tell someone, how they should and shouldn't react, or what they should and shouldn't do? So, that's, and I think that's a conversation that kind of, we'll get into a little bit more during this, but it's just, I think that the fact that he immediately had that response is actually interesting, because I'll go ahead and talk about it. It plays into what Jackson brought up later on, that the fact of the matter is he doesn't think of it as kind of a psychopathic situation. He thinks of it as human beings, that is a combination. It's not nature versus nurture. It's a combination of nature and nurture. Basically, it's a thing of your experiences make you who you are. That basically whatever leads you to, you being in that moment, he's the person who did this, it's thousands of things led up to that. So it's no situation is just that one situation. There are 1,000 things beforehand that it kind of basically led to that situation where you basically erupt. And now that's the big question about Baba. What about him? Because when he was with Freddie at that amusement park or whatever, and he was playing that shooting game, and I think that's kind of interesting. At first he's oh, the sights are off, and then he immediately goes, pap out, he's doing it. I'm so you have experience with guns, and then he goes and sees someone's decapitated head, and he snaps out of it. And so it turns out he's a refugee from a country that's at war. So I'm he must have been could have been a boy soldier, a child soldier is what I meant, sorry, a child soldier type of situation. At the very least, it kind of would understand why he was kind of oh, the sights are off, but then he kind of immediately adjusts to it, because it's I think it stems from either that was a friend of his that got decapitated, or maybe he did that to an enemy. Whatever the case may be, he said it himself that he rolled in with the wrong crowd, because my country's always been at war with myself, so he kind of got mixed up with the wrong group. Now I don't know whether that's a militia group or something, or just some armed group in general, but that's definitely going to be interesting to see, like, you know, that Baba is here because there's 1,000 things that led him there, that there are things in his past that basically make up the human like it's interesting because it seems like the show is going to be an insight into the human condition on many different regards, because what can be said about Baba, 1,000 things leading to who he is, same thing could be about Freddy. Like I said, like, Freddy just seems like she's a little off. Like, like, even in his first episode, she seems very manipulative, and it's like, well, what made her that way? Like, you know, and it's something I brought up, you know, when I've talked about it before, because it seems like the trailer really kind of showcases it, and I think that becomes a big part of this whole case too. It's like, she seems like she enjoys kind of having power over people. Because even the whole situation with Simon, she said, like, oh, I felt scared, but it's like, but it seemed like she's saying that just to make Baba feel better. So, because it's interesting, because it's like, she only got concerned once he was like, oh, I'm going to call the cops on Baba. She's like, no. Okay, I'll go over to your place. Once again, Simon's not a good dude. He's a dick. He's a manipulative prick himself. Like, but in his mind, it's like, oh, like, this is what we signed up. Because she's like, if I had told you to stop, would you have stopped? He was like, of course. But he was like, I thought that was part of the whole role-playing thing. Like, I guess, like, she was like, oh, he was like, I guess the whole thing is like, oh, if I tell you to stop, that doesn't mean stop. That means actually, you know. So that's his defense. But obviously she didn't feel that way, because she was like, I guess we'll never know at this point in time. But it's so interesting what that kind of sets up, you know. And but I think it speaks volumes. The fact is that Baba was so willing to be like, he's like, you don't want to go to this place. She's like, no. But like I said, just like how expressionless she is, and sometimes, and that's a complicated thing, because who am I to tell someone how they should be, like, representing themselves? Like, should she be, you know, tears in her eyes and distraught? But it's just like, the fact is that she just looks somewhat like emotionless, expressionless. You know, I mean, maybe that's a sign of something, but it's just like, it reads a certain way. And that's what kind of makes me feel a little conflicted of, like, it seems like she's manipulative, or am I just reading too much into it or thinking too much about it? You know, I mean, 'cause who the fuck am I to, like, oh, I know body language or something like that? No, you know, I'm no expert in that subject. So, but it's just interesting to me. I should also talk about this, because I ended up just randomly stumbling across this. The actress who plays Lola, it's freaking from Torchwood. I didn't even realize that until, like, I was looking through I was, like, randomly scrolling through her filmography. I was like, Torchwood? It's like, who was she in Torchwood? It's been so long since I saw Torchwood, I didn't even remember her character's name. I was like, Gwen, right. I was like, how can I not forget? I mean, once again, it's been years since I've seen Torchwood, which I love Torchwood, which obviously don't seem like I do if I don't remember, but like I said, it's been forever. But I was like, holy shit, I did not realize that was her. But obviously she gets partnered up. It's not just her new partner, it's actually her boss, who is Jackson. He's come from anti-corruption. I immediately took that as like, oh, is that supposed to be like white collar crimes, like embezzlement and stuff like that? That's what I was thinking. But it's not till, like, we got more context. I'm like, okay, so it's like the British equivalency of Internal Affairs, you know? So it's like, oh, so that's why he kind of rubs her the wrong way. Plus, he's kind of got almost like this happy disposition. I mean, for one, you're literally joined up with someone that's never who's never worked homicide before, and now they're with you, and now they're your boss, and so that's, you know, an interesting thing. I even like it I thought this was such an interesting story point, which is, or like just kind of a dialogue thing. It's the fact that he was like, you know, when I first saw him, Lola, you know, he was like, you know what I was thinking? And she was doing something else at the time. So he's like, you know, when I saw him first, you know what I was thinking? Like, he literally had to repeat himself. I just thought that was such an interesting little detail. But I was wondering if she was going to cut him off again or something like that. But it's because she seemed like she had no time for his his business at all. Especially because he ran up to her. She was like, oh, I'm got to get rid of the rat, so I'm going to put out poison and traps. He's like, no, get a cat. That's like the more humane way to deal with it. But regardless, I even love the fact that she's like, well, I'm going to meet you back at the office. And he's standing around. I'm like, you don't have a car, do you? You took a taxi or something here? And he's just kind of awkwardly standing around. He knocks on. It's just like, what's up? He's like, okay, so like I got into a bit of a fender bender. Everything's kind of okay, but you know, it's just I haven't really taken care of it. He's like, I'm going to take a taxi. She's like, no, sir. And I was like, right. She kept calling him sir. So it's like, that's your boss. So you kind of feel like you're obligated to kind of go with like, yeah, sure, hop in, sir. She did look into him because she saw an article that was talking about the fact is that he had saved a guy, but just somebody from jumping. So I guess, you know, doing a little research, I'm like, okay, so who is this guy? But it was interesting. They kind of had a somewhat heart-to-heart because basically it's like, okay, like he's like, we basically needed, you know, if it makes you feel better, we can go by a name, because at one point she just steps to him because when they interview that old lady, and I love that he's just like, oh, she's talking about, oh, I got this heartburn and stuff. He's like, oh, I know what you're like, he's so like casual with it, and she's almost just annoyed by it. It's like, we're investigating a murder and you're just like having a casual conversation. And he was like, oh, mix this and this for the, you know, the heartburn. She's like, oh my God, thank you. And she's like, do you have any experience with a homicide? And she realized how close she was. She backed up. She's like, I'm sorry, sir. I didn't mean to step to my boss like that. She's like, no. He's like, no. He's like, this is good. Like, we can kind of hash things out. And so he was like, we could go by first name. And she's like, no, I don't want to do that, sir. He's like, I'm ordering you for us to go by first names. And so he's like, it is the whole like anti-corruption thing. And for her, it rubs her the wrong way. It's like, yeah, there are bad cops, but she doesn't like the fact is that he's a cop that gets basically your job and you enjoy taking down cops. For him, it's like, I don't. It's just my job and I'm good at, I do what I do. But for him, he even talked about the fact is that his dad wasn't too happy. He's like, my dad didn't even talk to me for like 6 months after I got the job, you know. Because he's basically, the thing his dad was saying, I'm going to butcher it, but paraphrasing, it was basically like, you can tell a country's people what a country's people are like by by their cops. So, so I thought that was such an interesting thing, and obviously that's an interesting conversation to have with everything going on. Granted, I'm sure this was filmed before everything really went down, but obviously what's going down recently in the real world obviously has been going on for a while. It's not like it's a new thing. But I think that conversation in itself was like, oh, that's interesting to like kind of take and apply into the real world to, you know, think about something. Because I think that is kind of an interesting thing, like your country's reflected by how your police are handled, who they are, and how they handle things in general. I just thought that was just kind of an interesting perspective. And obviously for Lola, he's like, oh, so why did you get into law enforcement, stuff like that? She's like, to stop bad people from doing bad things. He's like, oh, old school. He's like, I like that, you know? So, but also, like, once again, she kind of got pissed at him because he's acting, once again, he's got that happy disposition. She's like, we're literally investigating a murder. Why the hell are you so goddamn happy? You know? And because it also seems like, I don't know whether it's just this current situation, because it doesn't seem like she has that same repertoire with Dom. It's just specifically with him, because I think his happy disposition just rubs her the wrong way. Because it's like, no one should be, it's that thing of thinking, no one should be this damn happy. Why are you that happy? And he invites her over to his house and everything, and like the kids are there, and obviously he shows her that room where he's like, oh yeah, my wife told me where the keys were. I came looking, couldn't find them, and I couldn't get in contact with her, and it would have been a 2-hour trip there and back. So he destroyed the room. Oh, lo and behold, I found the keys literally in the next drawer. So for him to show like the reason why, you know, because he tries to, no matter what he's doing, he's trying to keep, because I think for him, he realizes like, because he's like, even from being the very rational human I am, I can snap over something trivial like that. So I think that's going to be heavily something we lean into in this show. Like obviously the very like psychological angle of trying to understand the behavior, like, you know, the human condition and stuff like that, you know, and obviously in this case, you know, being Freddie and Baba, like their, what's in their minds and how their minds work with this whole thing. But, I just thought it was fascinating in that regard of just like, because I didn't expect that to be a part of his character, like, which I guess to a certain extent it kind of resonates with me because, you know, I'm someone who acknowledges I have anger issues. So him being like that, I'm like, oh, I felt a little kinship. I was like, oh shit, you know, you fly off the handle about stupid, irrational stuff too? Me too, you know? So, which is a weird thing to be bonding about with a TV character, but it felt, it made sense to me, like, oh yeah, like you fly off the handle for some stupid stuff that you have to calm down and be like, oh, like you, it's the thing of like, you had that clarity after of like, because for him, he even said like, it was there one minute and then it, you know, it was gone the next, and he was like, it was fascinating. I was like, that, it's interesting, you know, because I noticed that when I fly off the handle, you know, so I just thought that was such an interesting element, and just, you know, but once again, it's just like, I'm trying to figure out, you know, Lola's whole thing, just like, because obviously she seemed awkward around the whole situation, but at the same time, it's just like, obviously she's doing a good job of not opening it up either, because what really set her off was when him asking her questions about her personal life, and she was basically, that's what set her off to be like, don't ask me. So I'm like, there must be stuff there that it's just like, that's a trigger, don't go down that route. So maybe that's what it is. I mean, we don't know what her situation was prior to Jackson becoming her new partner, like what her previous partner situation was like. Maybe that kind of plays into this. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it doesn't. So there's all of that. Obviously, like, we've only kind of really started the kind of investigation side of things. But what was interesting, though, is, like, on the bottom of Simon's foot, like, a symbol was drawn. It was an eye. And at first, because I was sitting here, I was like, yeah, what's that about? Like, right. What did Freddie say to him? It's like, oh, I got my eyes on you. Both of them. Because he had said that to her prior. So I guess that's what that was supposed to represent. Of like, oh, like, my eyes are still always on him or something like that. I even thought it was interesting how they edited and how it was kind of cut together in the sense of, like, at the same time Baba and Freddie are dancing, they're literally working together to kill him. Her, like, you know, because even him's like, are you sure about this? And she's like, yeah. And just like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, that Baba at no point it's like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't do this. But it's because at the same time, it's like, you are being threatened and so am I. Like, he's going to tell me to come over to this place. I don't want to go. And if he calls the police and contacts them, it screws over your situation because he's like, his refugee status, like that whole situation, he's like, it could be settled tomorrow. It could take years. So, like, his life would be in jeopardy because it would mean, like, oh, he's like, I'd be, you know, basically deported and sent back to my own country. And she's like, what would you do then? He's like, then I'd hope that I wouldn't have to go back home. Like, you know, other than that, like, I think in that situation, it's like, nothing else he can do. So it's interesting to see that this is what started all of that. And that was my biggest question going forward. What sparked them to continue doing what they did? Is it just because, oh, they got the thrill of it? Or do they think that, oh, we're doing some vigilante justice type of thing? That's what I'm curious about, kind of understanding about them going forward. That's what I'm really intrigued about with this series. But like I said, I don't think it's just going to be a psychological, you know, look at, oh, you know, Baba and just Freddie. I think it's also going to apply to Lola and Jackson, because I think especially in this case, I think they are going to be like supposed to be like mirror images to each other, because like I said, all the stuff that Jackson brought up, I think Baba kind of feels it and sees it, and it's just like you see, and Lola seems like the polar opposite to Freddie. Like I said, Freddie just got that demeanor about her, like everything's okay. Like even when like Baba like was kind of, you know, knocking on the door, she was like, trust me, everything's gonna be okay. She touched his face, like. It doesn't, like, obviously that doesn't seem like that's, you know, Lola at all. So that's why I'm really interested to kind of dive into the series. I'm really interested to ultimately see where all of this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. Because as we saw at the end, like, one of the pictures up there was Freddie's. Granted, she's got a fake name. Her name's like, what was it, Zara or something like that. So it's going to be interesting to see where this all goes from here. But really, that's all I'm going to talk about. Until the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, love life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.